Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be answering the question which pops up quite often, and that is, what padlock should I buy? And we all have a garden shed, or most of us do anyway, with bikes and lawnmowers and things that we don't want the bad guys to get a hold of. And so there are so many different padlocks out there, it's hard to choose. So I'm going to be showing you some locks here that I don't like. I'm going to be telling you why I don't like them, and then I'm going to be showing you some locks that I would use on my garden shed. And there's just such a variety out there. I'm going to be talking about medium security locks, not the best locks that money can buy. You can buy locks for thousands of pounds, but I'm talking about locks at the most probably £30. So we're going to start off with this guy here. Why don't I like this lock? Well, first of all, it's the cheapest lock that money can buy, and it's a cast iron body, so pretty brittle. It doesn't even work well. If I can get it to pop open, we have a supposedly hardened shackle. It really isn't. And if you want to test your shackles to see if they're hard or not, get a file or a saw and cut on the shackle a little bit. If it's properly hardened, you'll find that the file or the saw slides around. It's probably going to be like glass, but if your file or saw starts cutting into the metal, you know that it's not hardened. We have spring-loaded locking pulls, which are weak because they can be shimmed. And what shimming is, well, basically you can see these locking bolts here that are just spring-loaded, and they go into the groove in the shackle. But what people will do is they'll get foil shim, they'll slip it down the side of that shackle and push the locking bolt in, and that will release the shackle and they can open the lock. Again, cheap core and pretty rubbish lock. Hardly surprising because it's such a little amount of money. This is the same, it's a cheap lock, and this one's actually laminated body, so made up of steel plates. But I tell people to keep away from these for a good reason, and the reason is that these locks are so easy to put together. They just stack up these plates and they squeeze these rivets into them, and that's all that's holding the plates together. And so really all that has to be done is, these plates can be easily separated. You could even chip the top of these rivets and the plates will just come off. Apart from that, it's a warded lock, so you can use the warded lock bypass tools. And this isn't a hardened shackle, and it's only single locking, so I wouldn't use that either. Now these are a little bit more costly, and people will use these thinking that they're secure, and to some extent they are. It's double locking, proper hardened shackle. We've got a 4-pin core with security pins, but it doesn't make much difference. Again, we can attack these with shims, and when a criminal comes across one of these, he or she isn't going to try cutting this shackle. They're just going to cut right through the brass body, because brass is soft and they don't want to damage their bolt cutters on the shackle. So I'd say stay away from that kind of lock too. And all of these locks are pretty small locks, and there's no reason to use these small locks on a garden shed. So this one is an Abus, I know, but again, it's brass body. We have a 5-pin core with security pins, so decent security there, and a hardened shackle, but it's brass body again, and it's quite a small padlock, so probably not too hard to get into. And another thing is that people think that hardened shackles are the best thing out there. They really aren't, because what you'll get in a hardened shackle is the outside bit, or the crust, will be hardened, but the inside part of the shackle is just like marshmallow. So if somebody can cut through the outer crust of the shackle, they'll just go right through the inside bit. There'll be no bother at all. So I'm going to show you some locks here that I would use, and I'm going to be telling you why I would use them. And I'm not suggesting that you get these particular locks. I'm just going to be looking at why I like them. This is the Abus Titanium ATTI 50. It's aluminium body, but it's pretty sturdy. A big lock, and we've got a massive big thick shackle, which again I think it's hardened. It says Nano Protect, so it's got corrosion plating, resistant plating, and we have spring-loaded locking bolts. Again, I'm not sure if you can shim this lock or not. And we have an insane 6 pins in this lock. And the way you can tell is by, you can read the key. You can read the cuts on the key. So that's 1, 2, 3 right there, 4, 5, 6. So 6 pins, and that's probably the best you're going to get out of a padlock like this. And it's got security pins, so very difficult to pick into. And I would say when it comes to padlock cores, you really shouldn't get anything with less than 4 pins in it. Or I should say 5 pins. 4 pins just really isn't enough, so 5 pins is the very minimum amount of pins that you should have in a lock, and they should be security pins too. If you're in America, this is a very common lock, the American lock, and you can actually buy these on eBay in the UK. But this is a very nice lock, solid steel body, and a steel shackle which is hardened. This is a thick shackle, so that's going to be hard to cut through. And if we look here, now this is what you should be looking for, a ball bearing lock. Ball bearings cannot be shimmed, and you can tell if it's a ball bearing lock because rather than the V-shape grooves cut in here, we've got rounded grooves. And if we look down here, we can actually see the little ball in there. So ball bearing locks are the way to go, and you cannot shim them, or the majority of them anyway. This is a 5-pin core, but this is a very pick resistant core because it has a combination of different security pins. It's got spools and serrated pins, which are very difficult to pick. So this is a very well balanced lock. We've got solid core, very hard to pick into, solid body, and a solid shackle. And those will probably cost you under £20. But this one you're looking at probably £20 to £30. This is actually a Squire lock, and Squire sell a huge amount of locks that all look the same, and they are probably the same. This particular one is a Squire SS50. It's a stronghold lock, and it actually takes a Euro cylinder core, and when I got this, it had a very nice core in it. It had this guy right here, zigzaggy keyway, security pins in here, 6 pins, which is brilliant. I didn't actually have a key, so that the whole idea of putting this core in would be that I had a key. And also if we look up here, we can see on either side here we have these little pins, and those are anti-drill pins, because a common attack on padlocks is actually drilling. So you also want to look for a drill resistant core if you can. This also has drill protection in it, and I know it's just brass, but it does have drill protection. And we have ball bearing locking, and a very hefty lock body. This is steel, and I'm not sure what the coating on this is, but it is excellent. I've had locks out there for years and years and years, and they still haven't corroded at all. This coating is absolutely amazing. And if you pay maybe £10 more, you can buy a closed shackle version, which of course you should get if it's available, and make the criminals' life very hard for them. I think you can get both of these in closed shackle versions. We also see up here it says boron. Now, I was telling you earlier about the weakness in these hardened shackles. Well, you should be looking for a boron alloy or a boron carbide shackle, and that is because they are a lot harder to cut. This boron alloy shackle here, this is solid all the way through, so it's going to be very hard to cut. I would use this lock probably over the other two because of its weather resistance, and if you got this lock from factory, it would have a very nice core in it. So you're looking probably £20 to £30. I'm not exactly sure of the price on that one. But I would use any of these three locks. Very nice locks. If you're ever in any doubt about a lock and you want to know what its kind of pick resistance is, then look it up on the internet. Find out what people are saying about them. If I wanted to learn about the Master Lock 140, I'd look up Master Lock 140 picking in YouTube, and I'd find a million videos of people picking these Master Lock 140s, and I would know that I shouldn't buy a lock like that. So, I hope that covers most of the points anyway. I'll just look at my list again, and I'll say that when you're looking for a lock, you should look for a solid body lock, preferably steel, 5 to 6 pins, and security pins, ball bearing locking, which can't be shimmed if possible, and also if possible boron alloy, or boron carbide. And I'll warn you that Master Lock actually sell boron carbide shackles, which are very difficult to cut through, but the cores in those locks are really not good, so I'd say stay away from those. Drill protection if possible, and yeah, at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. You really do, and you need to bear in mind the value of what you're actually protecting. So stay away from these. These are probably just going to be an annoyance to you, because I mean this one doesn't even work well. So guys, buy decent locks, and I've given you some points there to help you choose your next lock. If you ever need any advice or any help on choosing a lock, then please do just send me an email or a PM, and I'll help you if I can. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope that that you will learn from it. And yes, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.